Welcome to TikTok, where we talk about what makes people tick. I'm your host, Deepika Mahidhara. Now, there are some people who know exactly what they want, and there are some people who know exactly what they don't want. I think either of these could lead an individual to an interesting turn of events. My guest on the show today is Shivraj Rajeshwaran, CEO and founder of Hop. Hop is one of Hyderabad's most popular driver on demand apps. It offers all of us the convenience of having a driver on call at a time of our convenience so that we can hop from pub to pub or meeting to meeting in the comfort of our own cars. Thank you so much, Rajesh, for being on TikTok.
Thank you for having me, Deepika.
So, Rajesh, tell me, I've been looking at these posters around that are discouraging people from drinking and driving, and it says, call yourself a hop driver on demand. Dissuading people from drinking and driving, was that the primary reason for Hop's existence?
So Deepika, it was more like the need of the hour, and due to lack of options, there were a lot of people, finding different ways to get back home. Yes, you would want to get back in your own car, wake up in your, bed without any hassle. But the awareness, it started with one night me wanting a driver, and me having, a really vast connect with this driver community, and I couldn't get one.
Okay.
And I really want to do something about it. Throughout the night, I sat and brainstormed the idea from A to Z, keeping aside few things, few modules here and there, but the A to Z idea of what I needed was in that note that night.
Okay.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised myself actually.
And then what happened after?
And
Did
then,
that note get shared or something?
the sunrise and a few days went by. I just did like a very basic ground research, just went around asking my friends and a few acquaintances as to what they would do. The what if question went around, like the same question I was trying to raise, and pretty much everyone were telling me the same thing. In a time where I didn't have enough resources to execute this idea, to take it to a tech execution stage and start building the app, because it definitely needs a lot of money. So I was just going through this and seeing how it will, because all of us get 100 different ideas every day. We don't know which one to execute and which one to pursue. So I obviously assumed this is probably one of the same thing that's flowing, and back of my head it's been happening. I was not taking it that seriously, but I was doing an active research. I used to sell cars, so that work was going on the side. It was happening, it was active, until a little girl met with an accident.
Okay.
So this accident actually moved me, and probably our app is live and kicking today is all credits to her. If it was like a trigger point for me. What if again I had started this earlier and these kids, were probably aware that middle of the afternoon they could get a driver to go back home, and someone would have been alive or saved that day. I don't know.
Right.
So I put everything to halt. I said no problem. In fact, the first meeting I had with the developers who eventually built the app was literally in Garden Cafe, and I didn't have money to pay for their sandwich and coffee. So luckily they took me seriously, and they didn't give up on the idea too. And we went on to an execution stage, built it, sat day and night. All of us who worked on the app were first timers, as in it is the first app that they were building. So thanks to all of them that I'll never forget, who all played an active role in getting this from idea to execution to live to wherever it is going, or it is right now.
Where is Hop right now?
It was a very bootstrapped, a rough young entrepreneurial status type startup, and we are migrating to a more enterprise level right now. Structuring, getting thanks to a few of our mentors who are actively playing a very big role in our company right now, because they believe in the idea too, and they believe that this has really good potential. So they're more than anything, it's the time that they're giving it. So I'm yeah, very grateful for what is happening right now.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to where it's going.
Can you take us to who was Rajesh as a child, as a teenager, growing up? Because I've also heard that you weren't particularly interested in studies, but you are a very innovative and astute businessman.
I think it was more of a situation where I could not, I tried, I genuinely tried. I was a brilliant student till my 5th standard, and I don't know what happened after that. Yeah, like I had a very normal, fun childhood, completely outdoor sportsy kind of childhood, my parents played a very active role in who I am and where I am right now. I went to a very nice school called St. Andrews. So a lot of my values and, stay humble, be a part of, do something for the community all came from there. And I took a lot of things except education.
No, actually, you took education from there.
Yeah.
You probably didn't take academics, right? Because that's the real education.
Probably. And
right?
I thank everyone where my parents, when I was growing up, put one thing in my head, that 10 certificate, 10 certificate, 10 certificate. And it happened. Like, whoever played an active role in that also I'm very grateful to always. Because I clearly had no hope in that. Like,
You didn't want to
that was a
study
lost story. I started, losing hope and faith in that, because how much ever energy I'm trying to put in that, it was not working out. And I slowly started distancing myself from the whole education.
So you completed your 10th standard
Yeah.
with much encouragement
Yeah.
from friends and family.
Yeah.
And then what? What after that?
After that, I joined this college called St. Mary's. That was again the reason I went to that college is because I wanted to make a new circle, meet new friends, make a bigger network. I don't know why I was thinking on those lines, because a lot of my friends and my schoolmates joined colleges around my vicinity, like in Secunderabad. So I wanted to see, like, okay, fine, they will always be there, right? How do I make a new network?
So this wanting a new network, did it come from, you wanted to have fresh conversation, new ideas, new experiences? What was it?
I don't know if it's more like an hobby, but I always loved meeting new people. And I think it kind of fuels me up because I love listening to new stories, new experiences. It's the only way you get to listen more stories is by meeting new people, right?
Right.
All in a good sense. Yeah, to know more and to experience, because I have no idea where it's going to help me in what way, but it's there somewhere in the back of my head.
So you were basically going around looking for an education that appealed to you, because
Probably.
what you said is that you never know what you might have
Yeah.
learned from there. Can you share an example or two of a story or two that you learned something from that holds you in good stead even today?
My dad, again, plays a very active role in this.
Okay.
Always told me, give more to get more. Even though I've seen him in his best, I've seen him in his lowest. Everyone have ups and downs. The whole point that you're there and you're not giving up on the people who are depending on you is 100 marks, right? So I will always see him as a hero. And plus, we share the same birthday, so he's me. Yeah. Yeah.
Is there anybody else in your environment who, can you share another story of significance in your life?
See, another main story would be like, us growing up. I've had like a very good friends as kids, around you in your neighborhood. And I literally made money selling Tazos.
How old were you?
11, 12.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's probably when I figured that, I can sell anything.
Right.
Or at least I was getting into that more curious stage, I used to teach my apartment friends to make candles and, go out in the lane and sell it to people there also.
So it's very interesting. There is the very early realization that a certain kind of value system, like the staying humble,
Yeah.
give more to get more. And at the same time, there seems to have been an early realization that boss money is important. You better learn how to make it. Right?
Definitely.
And an early realization that this education doesn't work, this academics doesn't work for me. Can you continue the story of, okay, you went to St. Mary's and...
And 11, 12 done. Now, reality is going to hit very soon when the results are going to be out. So I need a plan B. Right? And I knew, like, whatever happens, how much of a supportive of your parents will get, the minute they see you failed, everything will change, at least for some time. And I, didn't believe, I didn't like going back to that stress. So I had to do something. So I quickly opened up a newspaper, asked around. Turns out there was an opening in a company called InnoPark. So that's the first ever interview I've given in my life. And I literally went to that interview to learn what it feels like to get rejected.
This is a job interview you
Proper
went
job
to
interview.
get
Serious
rejected.
now. Things are getting serious now, right? And I really wanted to see what are the kind of questions they would ask you, and what do you need? What does it take to get a job in a corporate IT sector? I'm not saying education is not important, but in order to survive, communication is very important, right? If you're able to communicate, if you know the basic. You don't have to have like a very fancy, sophisticated English. Like your basic, you should be able to talk. Even if it's Telugu, Hindi, Malayalam, Tamil, anything. Yeah. Communication,
Get your point across.
That's it. If the other person can understand your point, that's it. You've sold your idea, you've sold your you got the job or whatever it is. So that is the day I realized, okay, fine. I know I've not studied, right? So now there is some ray of hope in the back of my head saying, okay, fine. It is not just these certificates. Do what you're doing. Communication is key. Just keep getting better at it. The job continued. I was the youngest in the company, and 2 years, I think, a little more than 2 years, I was in the same company, my first job ever. And then I wanted a more serious and more difficult job, because I realized as and when you keep growing in a company, your job gets easier. And I was picking things up really fast. I was learning. I went from, typing like this on a keyboard to without looking at it, like... Yeah, I'm a very quick learner. Okay, very quick learner. I catch on to things like very fast. And so I went to another company, worked there for a bit, tried my best, and I've almost kept, your little teenage life.
Right.
Just when it was starting, I just pushed it off and cut it off from that, and I shied away from that. I was working very aggressively in these companies. I gave it my best. It is not 98% or 99%. I gave it 100%. Right? Work night shifts without any complaints. If there was a need for me to work extra, I was there. No compromise at all in that. Right. So I realized, having respect and value is very ethical for your workplace. So I don't know where that's going to take me. But post that, now this is me in a very experimental stage, because I still don't know what I have to do and what I want to do, and what's in store for me. So this is when a friend reached out to me saying, hey, let's start a car service center. You don't have to invest any money, just come be a part of it. I'll take care of everything. Let's do this. I'm like, yeah, cool, let's do it. So this was me helping him set up the entire car workshop during the day, and going night shifts in the same company.
Okay.
At bare minimum of like around 2 to 3 hours or 4 hours of sleep every day. Right? Until I sold one car.
Okay.
One afternoon.
Tell us about it.
Yeah. It was really funny actually, because the guy who wanted to service his car, the work got done. I told him, sir, your car is ready. And he was like, hey, listen, I got my new car delivery. It was supposed to come like next month, but they gave it to me earlier. And I cannot park that car outside my house, because kids will like key it and like they'll ruin it even further. Please find a buyer and sell it. I'm like, and I very clearly told him that I've never done this before. Okay. And we are very new in this. So I'll also have to ask someone to get a dealer or whatever it is. He said, yeah, go ahead. I asked him what is the price that you want and etc. I can give you like clear figures also right now because it's the first car I ever sold. And he said, whatever man, 1.6, 1.8, just close it. And now my technician who works in the garage, he called someone from his area. He said, please close it at 2.4. I'm like, something is not right here because the owner wants a price and this guy is asking for another price, right? And I know things can't be so good, like it can't be too good to be true also. And I told him, no, go check again. And then he immediately goes, sees it again, comes back with 2.6 off an hour. 2 lakhs, I told the owner that I got an offer. 20,000 was his outstanding bill for clutch plates or whatever. Cleared that, sent 1.8. Now the guy who got me the dealer, I give him 20,000 and I earned 40,000. So now a guy who is working as a technician is probably taking home a good 15,000 salary, and all this happened in less than 20 minutes. I was like, 20 minutes, 20,000, wow.
Selling Tazos, selling cars.
Everyone were happy. Everyone, the buyer, the seller, the guy who got the dealer, everyone. I'm like, this is interesting now. We could venture into this, and then I slowly, started. Putting in a word for the people who are sending out their cars to us for service, saying, hey, if there's any requirement, let us know. And then started to sell a car here and there, and then now that started getting more interesting.
Right.
So this went on for some time.
Okay.
Then we outsourced off the service center to someone else and went into full mainstream buying and selling of cars. Yeah, went from small to medium to luxury to sports to any car that's out there. I almost sold a 18-seater private jet.
Okay, what happened?
I had no idea what I was doing. I was like, let me try to sell this one.
Okay, so you enjoy challenges and you don't mind walking into things blind sometimes.
Right.
How else will you learn, I feel, Self-learning, I think. I call this self-learning.
So, the sale happened and what happened next? How did, what happened after that, after the sales job? It came straight to Hop?
Yeah, I did that for about 6.5 years. And while I was doing this, like I mentioned, I was in a very good connect with this large driver network.
Right.
And I was trying to understand why they were again and again coming and trying to sell cars, right, to earn extra money. So I figured whenever there was like a fees situation, like kids' school and everything, they try to sell a car. And I figured that, yes, there is a huge gap there, and clearly they're not happy with their salary.
Right.
But it is a market, and that we still see it as a blue collar job. What should I do and how should I connect these two? And this is the need of the hour.
Right.
It is clearly the need of the hour. These people want to make money.
Yeah.
These people want to get home safe.
Right.
How do I bridge it? How do I make sure both of them are happy? How do I make sure at a very economical price for a customer to, just like, okay, man, this is nothing. At the price of one drink outside, I'm getting to go home in my car.
Right.
No strings attached.
Right.
At the same time, the driver is, somehow doing what he does, earning extra. Now he's doubling his income by just doing that part time. We also have a full time that we have. So this is how Hop came about.
I have also heard, that you yourself attend to customers, have attended to customers when there hasn't been a driver. And there seems to be a thread through your story of a fearlessness and an open mind where you are willing to approach anything and you don't consider whether this is something that, you come from a family where they gave you an education, gave you everything that you wanted, good food to eat, but you've never thought as any job is too less for you to do, it appears. Right? Where does that come from?
I believe in the worst job is the only job you're depending on someone else, right? Now, when it comes to money, dignity of labor is a very big role that has to be spoken about in India. Because if someone is, whoever they are, they claim to be here, and however desperate the situation they are in, they will not resort, even if it's good money and quick money and legit money, they will not. But if they are in another country, they are ready to do anything. Like, they are okay to scrape off chewing gums under the table from McDonald's. It's like that. It's because of us. It's not them. It's entirely our fault. We do not give that access and respect to them.
Okay.
We do not speak about it, and we do not tell our friends that it's okay. Go ahead and do it as a driver. Who cares?
Right.
You're making good money. I studied so much and I'm only getting 20,000. You know, that part is not changing. It has to change, I feel. And coming to me going for drives, it started off with, there was, whenever there was a scarcity with drivers in the beginning, obviously, because I only started with 30 drivers, and in those 30 drivers, only 8 drivers knew how to drive automatic. So I personally taught the remaining 22 drivers how to drive an automatic car. Not because that they should miss out on an automatic booking, because I wanted to do more. Like, I wanted to up the game, take it faster, higher. And I was constantly doing rides because I had to see pain points myself. You know, it's not fair for me to sit in an AC cabin somewhere and decide what's right and what's wrong. It's not fair at all. Who am I to decide, right? Only when I go and I see, okay, fine, it is inconvenient, it is difficult, it is these people who are doing this end of the day. If I do it myself is when I can speak about it and make changes, right? That's something that will constantly keep happening.
But this nothing is beneath my dignity, right? Where did it first come from? Do you remember any incident or any observation that you had that made you feel like nothing should be beneath my dignity?
So when we go to places, for example, to have a tea in a tea stall, right? You and me could be from the same company. It could be any Forbes top 100 companies or any company. Now we are salaried employees. We go and we have a tea paying 10 rupees and we decide and we think and we completely opinionate and judge the tea stall guy that, you know, I'm paying 10 rupees, I'm doing this guy a big favor. But they're not realizing that guy is the actual entrepreneur there and he's taking home a good 45 to 50,000. Yes, he's working really hard, standing throughout the day in that heat, boiling tea, going through any circumstance whatsoever, right? I started seeing things very differently. I'm not saying I was always like this.
Right.
You know, every day there's something that comes to me and, you know, I start exploring it and I love, you know, I embrace those thoughts, whatever it is. And I feel like 1 in 10 of these could make a very good change in who we will end up being. It could be anything. We pick up things from anywhere and everywhere, right? But smallest of the smallest things we miss on a daily basis.
Where you are at today, have you ever faced a challenge of people judging you or saying, hey, you know, you must go ahead and get an education or something like that?
I definitely would not call these people my friends, clearly.
So you don't know if they're judging
I don't know, yeah.
Okay,
and good if they're judging me because I'm clearly setting an example for them. And I love it if things like this happen, right? It's what drives you to take you to the next level. Sometimes you forget your direction and these people remind you the direction. Yeah, so it's good.
So Rajesh, if I were to ask you what are the things that make you tick, though I've kind of drawn that from your story, but I want to hear it from you. What makes you tick?
I honestly am still not sure, Deepika, because I'm still trying to figure that part out yet. And as I live on a day-to-day basis, there are a lot of things that I'm picking up and learning. So probably in the next episode, I'll be able to tell you.
Can I try and tell you what I gather about things
You'll
that
be a
make
better
you
judge
tick?
at this stuff.
I feel like challenge is definitely one of them. You like to set yourself up for higher and higher levels of difficulty. You got bored of the job because you understood it easily. Then you wanted to,
I didn't get bored of it, but I wanted a more tougher
you
job.
wanted you had a quick grasp of things and you wanted something tougher. Right? And then the stories that you said you live for. So I think making a difference. And then you also have very strong views and a very strong desire to change things like bring about dignity of labor. You also seem to have a view, though we haven't talked about it, you do have a view on education because the regular academic system didn't work for you, but you still went out and got yourself an education. So, you seem to have a view about some of these social causes and making them happen, making change happen. I think would it be okay to say that
Yeah.
really makes you tick?
You know, when you do
whether-
something nice for someone, even though they're not expecting it, and your pillow just gets more comfortable when you're sleeping at night,
Right.
I'm like, wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So we wish you nights and nights of good
Thank you
sleep.
so
May your
much.
pillow continue to get more comfortable. Thank you so much, Rajesh,
Yeah.
for this conversation.
Thank you for having me.
I thoroughly enjoyed that conversation. There was so much I took away from it. In the comments below, could you please let us know what you liked about this story and what kind of stories you'd like to hear more of? Please like and share this video, and we'll be back very soon with another story.